Beneath a dusky evening sky, where seagulls called to the rhythm of the distant surf, Nora Beckett sat amidst her family, feeling the familiar sting of skepticism. The unwelcome soundtrack of this family reunion was Sadie, her sister, whose accusations sliced through the ambient noise with precision. "Predictable, Nora," Sadie declared, casting her fork aside as if staging an unwelcome encore. The metallic clang echoed onto the table, signaling the start of yet another round in their endless bout. Sadie's eyes narrowed in dramatic fashion, poised with judgment that had become second nature over the years. Frozen in her seat, Nora immediately sensed gaps in the conversation grow silent, like pauses meant for reflection. Suspense and irritation writhed in the air, while the rest of the table shifted uneasily under the familial tension that had wrapped around them like a heavy fog. Her father expelled a breath laden with quiet disappointment. At the same time, her mother's lips formed a thin, severe line, the typical marker of reluctant neutrality. Still, it was clear she had long taken her stance, one unfailingly oriented towards Sadie. Nora's gaze fell to her plate of shrimp scampi, suddenly flavorless, suffocated by unspoken accusations. All appetite was lost in the looming opinion of those around her, a persistent and exhausting sense of blame pinned upon her yet again. As Nora Beckett, newly 35, could recount, the accusatory finger seemed permanently stationed in her direction for anything remotely resembling a blunder. Errors fell into her basket, a delayed gathering, an unexpected rainstorm during a barbecue, anything could find its way onto her growing ledger of familial grievances. Meanwhile, Sadie danced through life unscathed, always emerging as the untouched rose amid chaos. Sadie had mastered the art of deflection, charming most people into believing her stories that painted her as the endearing victim. Their mother often described it as virtuous charisma. To Nora, it was an exhausting display she couldn't escape, almost as if it came standard with her role as the universal scapegoat. Even so, a part of Nora hoped against hope that this time things would diverge from the predictable script. This current turmoil began upon their arrival at Sagewood Beach Resort, intended to be a tranquil family getaway. Ever optimistic, Nora had taken charge, reserving their accommodations, dining experiences, and activities. She meticulously combed through reviews, ensured triple confirmation of their reservations, all in a bid for familial perfection. Yet, on the inaugural night, Nora's meticulous planning unraveled spectacularly when they arrived at the highly coveted seafood restaurant, only to discover their reservation had vanished into thin air. Her mother turned to her, incredulous, as if examining a specimen she could not understand. "Nora, didn't you handle this?" she probed, hinting at frustration beneath the surface. Nora's fingers moved frenetically across her phone screen, presenting the digital evidence of her competence, her confirmation clear and undeniable. "It's right here," she attempted to assert. Somehow, a mysterious cancellation left her plans in tatters. Sadie, never one to miss an opportunity, interjected scornfully, "Great job, Nora." The sarcasm dripped from each word, lingering like a miasma eclipsing any joy from the evening. Condemned to a hastily chosen nearby diner for unplanned burgers, Sadie's displeasure was palpable. She dramatized her dissatisfaction with exaggerated sighs and reproachful glances, leaving no one at the table uncertain of her discontent. The following morning brought no respite. A snorkeling expedition, organized by Sadie herself, was thwarted by mechanical delays beyond anyone's control. "Another brilliant Nora plan," Sadie quipped under her breath, her words deceptively light, yet heavy with meaning. Though the excursion was her own failed endeavor, Sadie's glances sought Nora's implied complicity, seeking someone to shoulder the blame. Nora mastered the art of silence, understanding that vocal defense offered little relief, only prolonged the spectacle. Better to let Sadie vent, maintain a fragile peace. And so, Sadie's jabs continued with a precision honed by practice, unchecked by their parents. Mother, even finding humor in their sibling clash, remarked how they needed better teamwork, a notion devoid of understanding for Nora, who felt increasingly singled out. Suppressing tears that threatened to betray her cool demeanor, Nora held fast, refusing to concede defeat. Now, sitting amid the grandeur of another dining experience, Sadie regaled their parents with a carefully curated list of supposed failures, intent on painting a nefarious narrative where Nora was both orchestrator and accomplice to their misfortunes. For now, Nora endured the role history seemed determined to cast for her, waiting for the chance to rewrite the script in a future act where triumph overshadowed misunderstanding. As the evening shadows stretched across the room like whispers of the past, Nora Beckett found herself once again the center of her sister Sadie's calculating scrutiny. Sadie's voice, laced with sarcasm, served as the opening act for her list of complaints, each word deliberately staged with the flourish of counting on her fingers. First, the dinner. You can't manage to hit confirm, Sadie began, her voice sharp yet theatrical. The verbal sparring continued with a jab at the snorkeling mishap. And the snorkeling disaster? Did you forget to check the weather? She quipped, each syllable designed to sting. Nora's patience was fragile, like a thread pulled taut over the years. Her voice barely held steady as she replied, "That's enough, Sadie," but the tension only thickened. Their father, seated at the head of the table, peered over his glasses, his eyes acknowledging the strain but offering no intervention. Their mother, on the other hand, delivered a look brimming with expectation, as if awaiting Nora's submission or apology. With a grin that conveyed nothing but satisfaction, Sadie doubled down, adopted a sugar-coated tone. "I'm not trying to upset you. Just stating the obvious. You know someone has to," she crooned, her words a rehearsal for the sympathetic audience of their parents. Nora's grip on the tablecloth tightened, her knuckles white against the fabric as a sense of injustice bubbled beneath the surface. A lifetime of yielding and retreating, brushing off confrontations as unworthy of engagement, loomed in her thoughts. But tonight felt different. Something inside her shifted with Sadie's relentless accusations. Even after the table was cleared and the dinner's aftermath lingered like an unwelcome guest, Sadie's words remained etched into the air. Their father reclined in his chair, massaging his temples in a tired gesture. Meanwhile, their mother busied herself with the bill, eyes averted from Nora, perhaps hoping to sidestep any weary alliances. Why must it always be such a struggle? Their mother eventually sighed, her voice tinged with weariness. "Nora, these trips mean a lot to us. Why didn't you double-check everything?" Nora's response emerged with more defiance than expected, her tone crisp. "I double-checked everything, the dinner, the snorkeling, all of it. I planned for weeks." Momentarily stunned silence enveloped as her family visibly started, surprised by her fervor. Returning Sadie's melodramatic performance with her own, she sighed and made her exit, remarking, "Well, clearly, that wasn't enough." She stood and left, her departure framing an uncomfortable silence in her wake. As tension pulsed through the dining room, Nora's parents exchanged a look, her father offering a silent plea to drop the subject. Sleepless, Nora lay beneath the hotel's ornate ceiling, replaying Sadie's accusations like a film on loop. Her parents' tacit acceptance of Sadie's narrative gnawed at her, fanning old flames of betrayal. Their mother's thinly masked disenchantment and father's detachment sliced through her like twin blades of neglect. Guilt without cause had become a chapter-and-verse routine Nora yearned to rewrite. As midnight engulfed her, Nora considered reaching out to Tatum, her long-standing confidant. Yet the late hour persuaded her against disturbing Tatum's peace. Instead, seeking solace or distraction, she scrolled through her phone. An overlooked thread from Sadie surfaced, content that froze Nora's heart. 2 weeks prior, "Hey Nora, can you see to the snorkeling? I'm swamped and may have bungled something. Also, think I accidentally canceled the dinner reservation. Can you mend it?" The realization hit hard. Sadie had confessed, offhandedly, to the very errors she had laid at Nora's feet. Anxiety and the pressures of the previous days had clouded her memory of these admissions, now glaringly incontrovertible. Morning ushered in more questions than clarity. Over breakfast, chatter was sparse, the room filled with more awkwardness than acceptance. The usual familial small talk fluttered aimlessly, while Sadie ensconced herself in the digital refuge of her phone. Nora's glances begged her father for even a fraction of acknowledgement, yet received none. His focus remained solely fixed on his coffee. Seeking reprieve, Nora excused herself, descending to the rhythmic embrace of the ocean, a pilgrimage for internal stillness. She sent a message to Tatum, wondering if friendship might offer clarity where family had faltered. Tatum called back with quick warmth, her concern tangible through the phone. "What's going on?" she asked gently, sparking hope within Nora that resolution might yet find her. Beneath the gentle glow of sunlight spilling into her room, Nora Beckett steeled herself with the words she needed to hear. Confidently securing her escape through a connection that always understood her, she dialed Tatum, hoping for clarity amidst chaos. "Sadie's done it again," Nora confessed, her voice tinged with frustration. "This time, she blames me for ruining our vacation, and, like clockwork, my parents just nod along." Tatum's exasperation was palpable, streaming through the line. "Not again, Nora. What's the story this time?" Relieved to unload, Nora recounted the entire ordeal, the missing dinner reservation, the snorkeling debacle, and the deft way Sadie twisted the narrative, painting Nora as the perpetual problem. By the end, Nora felt like she'd climbed and descended an emotional Everest. "And you're just going to let her steamroll you?" Tatum's voice was sharp, a protective edge slicing through the distance. "Stand up for yourself, Nora. Enough is enough." "What's the point?" came the bitter reply. "Even an attempt would likely dissolve against their usual siding with Sadie. They always did. But you've got something this time, right?" "Proof." Tatum pressed. Images of that message thread flooded Nora's mind. "I might," she admitted, detailing the messages to Tatum, reading each line aloud with the gravity of discovery. Tatum's response was instant, a triumphant whistle echoing through the phone. "Nora, that's your ace. You have to show them." Doubt gnawed at Nora's resolve. "It feels petty. What if it just deepens the divide? Worse than Sadie's free pass?" Tatum countered. "She's painted you as the family fall guy long enough. Isn't it time you had your say?" Tatum's words pierced through the rationalizations Nora had clung to far too long. Deep inside, Nora recognized the truth in Tatum's call to arms, even if the prospect of confrontation tied knots in her stomach. Sensing Nora's hesitation, Tatum encouraged softly, "You can do this, Nora. You deserve to have your side known." The day unfolded in a daze. A suggestion from Nora's mom to visit the boardwalk was met with enthusiastic agreement from her dad, eager for distraction. Nora joined them, maintaining a false cheer while the evidence against Sadie felt like a heavy weight in her pocket, a mix of hope and fear. By the time dinner arrived, the decision was solidified in Nora's mind. No longer would she allow Sadie to dictate reality unchecked. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the restaurant in a poetic golden hue, the elegance of the scene contrasted sharply with the tense dynamics at their table. Nora nudged around the food on her plate, barely listening to her mom's light-hearted prattle about the beauty of the resort, while her dad sipped wine with more interest than participating. Sadie, basking in the spotlight as she spun a tale from work, soon turned her gaze to Nora, her words dripping with faux brusqueness. "So, Nora, what's your next plan to sabotage tomorrow, or are we improvising now?" The fork slipped from Nora's hand, the clang startling nearby diners. Her face flushed, anger surged up, unbidden yet welcome. "That's enough, Sadie." The firmness in her voice caused her sister to laugh, mockingly curious. "Don't be so defensive." "It's just a joke," Sadie teased with a tilt of her head. "No, it's not," Nora countered, her hands shaking slightly as she pushed the plate aside. "You've spent the entire trip pinning everything on me, and I'm done pretending the charade is okay." A stunned silence cloaked the table as Nora's mother froze, glass mid-motion, her widened eyes revealing her shock. Their father cleared his throat, shifting in discomfort, bracing for what might be said next. Meanwhile, Sadie reclined, crossed arms punctuating her smirk, ready for what she presumed was the usual unwinnable exchange. "Oh, here we go," Sadie intoned, rolling her eyes theatrically. Nora's in victim mode again. Summoning courage, Nora breathed deeply, grounding her voice in truth. I'm not playing victim, Sadie. I'm reclaiming the truth. And since honesty seems to evade you, let me clear things up. Under the soft glow of candlelight in the restaurant, Nora Beckett felt a rush of adrenaline as she reached into her bag, her heart pounding like a drum echoing in a silent room. She placed her phone on the table, the screen aglow with undeniable evidence. Sadie, do you recognize these? Nora's voice was sharper, more resolute than ever before. On the screen were the messages admitting responsibility for the trip's mishaps, a truth bomb ready to explode. Sadie's confident demeanor flickered for a moment, a crack in her carefully maintained facade. Reaching for the phone, she feigned confusion. What are you talking about? Their mother leaned in, squinting at the screen, trying to piece together the puzzle. What is this? She murmured. This is the truth, Nora declared, her voice stabilizing as she scrolled through the messages. Sadie canceled the dinner reservations. She even asked me to fix it, and when I couldn't, she pinned the blame on me instead. As Nora's father took the phone, his expression shifted, gears turning in his mind. Sadie, he said slowly, the gravity of the situation settling in. Is this true? A flush crept up Sadie's cheeks, genuine panic flitting across her features before she donned the familiar wide-eyed innocent look that had rescued her from countless scrapes. Dad, come on, she pleaded, her voice a teetering mixture of tremble and appeal. Texts can be so easily misinterpreted. I wasn't blaming Nora, just venting. Misunderstanding. Nora repeated, her voice firm, emotions simmering just beneath the surface. You've spent the entire week undermining me, and now it's all a misunderstanding? Their mother held up her hands, a fragile ceasefire. Can we not turn this into a fight? Nora met Sadie's gaze, unwavering. It's not a fight. It's setting the record straight for once. Sadie's confident smile faltered, and she turned to their father with a softer tone. I didn't mean to escalate things. I was stressed, okay? I care about this trip, about us. Quietly, their father set the phone aside, his expression unreadable. He looked from Nora to Sadie and finally to his wife. Laurel, he said softly, I think we've been ignoring what's really happening. Laurel's brow furrowed, perplexity altering her serene expression. What do you mean? Their father continued, we've let things slide, let Nora bear the brunt when it hasn't been her responsibility, because it was easier than facing the truth. Silence took the table, the only noise the subtle clink of cutlery as a nearby server cleared dishes. Laurel opened her mouth, then hesitated, her gaze crossing to Nora, landing with a softness Nora hadn't seen before. Nora, she said, her voice a tender, barely their whisper. Why didn't you say anything? A humorless laugh escaped Nora. Would it have mattered? Every time I spoke up, it got brushed aside, or you stood by Sadie. Why would this be different? Her words hung heavy in the air, causing an almost imperceptible shift in Laurel's expression, perhaps regret, even a shadow of guilt. Laurel reached across the table, her hand brushing Nora's. I'm sorry, she said. Though simple, these words prompted a deeper impact than Nora anticipated, small yet profound. Sadie shifted, glancing back and forth between her parents and Nora. I didn't mean for this to escalate, she murmured, her tone subdued. I messed up. I'm sorry, Nora. Nora watched her sister, uncertainty mingling with tentative relief, unconcerned with discernment of Sadie's sincerity. She'd achieved something greater, the weight of truth presented for all to witness. Walking back to the hotel, a hush enclosed the group, the rhythmic crash of distant waves underscoring the introspective tranquility. Her father walked beside Nora, pockets dug deep, while her mother and Sadie trailed behind, their murmurs indistinct in the night air. For the first time in what felt like forever, a sense of lightness rested on Nora, a relief mingled with exhaustion from having finally used her voice. Nora Beckett leaned against the balcony railing of the hotel, the cool breeze tousling her hair as the ocean below shimmered under a serene moonlight. A flutter of relief mixed with apprehension swirled inside her, leaving her mind restless despite the picturesque view. She wondered if the confrontation at dinner would herald real change or simply dissipate like so many fleeting sunsets before it. Her father soon joined her, his expression unusually contemplative. His voice, softer than she'd ever heard, broke through her thoughts. "Nora," he began with uncharacteristic humility, "I owe you an apology." Surprised, Nora tilted her gaze toward him. Her father was notoriously stoic, more prone to absorbing conflict than actively resolving it. Yet here he was, acknowledging an oversight. "At dinner, you were right. We've leaned on you unfairly, and I see it now. I'm sorry." Caught off guard by his candor, Nora merely nodded, fighting the unexpected sting of tears. "Thanks, Dad," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. His hand found her shoulder, imparting a small, reassuring squeeze. "You've always been the reliable one," he said. "We leaned on you more than we should have. It might take time, but I'll do my best to change that." Later, her mother entered the room, hesitating in the doorway before sitting on Nora's bed. Her demeanor was reflective, a gold bracelet slipping nervously through her fingers. "We haven't been fair," she confessed, a sentiment Nora had yearned to hear. "I think I knew it deep down, but it was easier to ignore, especially with Sadie's dramatics." A small, dry laugh escaped Nora. Her mother's admission wasn't exactly revolutionary, yet it was comforting in its truth. "Sadie's good at making a show," Nora acknowledged, the corners of her mouth lifting ever so slightly. Her mother continued, "I want you to know I see how much you've done for us, how much you've given up. I'm sorry if we've taken it for granted." Though overdue, her mother's words provided a sense of relief Nora didn't realize she needed. "Thank you, Mom," Nora said, managing to keep her voice from cracking despite the emotions simmering beneath. The next morning, Sadie was unusually subdued, offering no barbed comments at breakfast, keeping her gaze lowered. As they packed to leave, Sadie approached Nora in the hallway, her stance defensive, yet her tone uncharacteristically vulnerable. "About last night," Sadie began, her words tentative. "I know I messed up. I shouldn't have blamed you." Nora studied her sister, searching for sincerity within her typical mask. For once, Sadie appeared sincere, tired, maybe even remorseful. "This isn't just about last night, Sadie," Nora said thoughtfully. "It's about a pattern that needs to stop." Sadie nodded slowly, her gaze falling to the floor. "I understand. I'll try to change," she admitted. It wasn't the sweeping apology Nora had once fantasized about, but it was a beginning, and for now it sufficed. In the weeks following their return, the air felt subtly different, carrying promises of renewal. Sadie sent Nora casual texts, sometimes sharing something funny, a tentative armistice. Their parents reached out more frequently, engaging with genuine interest in Nora's work, a contrast to previous detached formalities. Patterns didn't dissolve overnight, but the changes, however incremental, marked progress. Yet, the most profound shift was within Nora herself. Embracing her voice at dinner had been terrifying yet profoundly liberating. She realized the undue power she had given others through silence, how maintaining peace once meant bearing blame that wasn't hers to shoulder. At work, Nora embraced the change even more, refusing tasks not aligned with her role, advocating for her ideas with newfound conviction. She was learning, albeit gradually, that asserting herself wasn't an act of aggression, but one of self-respect. And in this newfound clarity, Nora found strength, her journey a testament to the quiet resilience cultivated over years of undesired peacekeeping. In the soft illumination of her office, Nora Beckett found strength in moments she once let pass by. She began to assert herself in meetings, making sure her work was recognized, her voice no longer lost in the crowd. These seemingly mundane victories, correcting a colleague's oversight or claiming rightful credit, accumulated, building a mosaic of newfound confidence and respect that did not escape her boss's attention. The acknowledgement felt like validation from the universe that she was on the right path. Over lunch one afternoon, her steadfast friend Tatum raised an iced tea and an exaggerated toast. To the new Nora, she announced with admiration, "A fierce, no-nonsense leader." Nora chuckled, clicking her glass against Tatum's. "I'm still a work in progress," she admitted, warmth infusing her words. "Nonsense," Tatum countered firmly, her grin wide. "You're the real deal, and it suits you perfectly." Meanwhile, the dynamics within Nora's family continued to evolve. She and her sister, Sadie, weren't miraculously inseparable, but conversations were becoming more genuine, less tense. When their mother floated the idea of Nora organizing yet another family event, Nora responded with newfound assertiveness. "I'll help, but this one's on Sadie," she declared, marking her boundaries with gentle resolve. A moment's pause followed before her mother nodded. "Fair enough," she agreed, and with that simple acknowledgement, a long-carried weight lifted from Nora's shoulders. That evening, as Nora sat on her balcony bathed in the warm hues of a setting sun, she reflected on the long journey that had reshaped her world. The young woman who once silenced herself, allowing others to compose her narrative, was fading into history. In her place was someone who articulated her needs, stood firm in her boundaries, and fully grasped her value. The most profound realization of all? Nora didn't seek validation from anyone else, not from Sadie, her parents, or even the workplace hierarchy. The peace she embraced was born from this internal shift, a testament to her own transformation, something no external acknowledgement could define. Hey there! If this story resonated with you, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more compelling stories like this one. Your support makes a huge difference, and we look forward to sharing more incredible journeys with you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.